Well, we're a day late and $1 short. I had some stuff come up yesterday, so I didn't get around to doing this video then, but it's Friday. It's almost the weekend, and we're going into week 2. Will the meta start to settle on out? We'll bring our weekly meta report next week. There was already 150 plus reports of tops from last weekend. The link is down below if you want to check that out. But today I have 4 deck lists to go over from some off the meta paths if you're looking to take to your local stores. These 4 decks are not what you would expect to be tier 1 decks. Some of them I had high hopes for, and they topped in week 1. So how well will these decks continue to do? And the first one is going to be none other than a deck I've been working on building with and for my friend. Hold on, guys. I just realized started recording video with the TV still running. I don't know how loud that is for you guys. Anyway, now that we can hear me, we're all paying attention here. So first and foremost is the Circle of Quacks. This was a 30-person win a case event that was topped by a Circle of Life deck. And yeah, so to me, if there's 30 players, the only things I will consider for the spreadsheet would be of the top 4. So if you're outside of the top 4, unfortunately, you don't make it in the spreadsheet. It's just filtered that way to try to give us the best representation of the top decks in the format. And we see a lot of nice things here like Bobby Zemersky, you got the Yzma, you got Clarabelle, you have Donald in there, we got the 6-cost Tramp, the 7-cost Tramp, and Big Stitch, obviously. These are all of your draw cards. You have some nice utility in the Mowgli and Ursulus for that hand knowledge and ripping cards from your opponents. I love the 3-3 ratios there. Grandmother Willow you're going to see in all of these lists. And I do understand the 2 other ladies. Circle decks typically are a little more mid to late game and less on the aggressive push. But with the way the format is, having that strong early push makes a little bit of sense. And the fact that you want to be able to go Grandmother Willow and come back with 1-drop. You want to go like 1-drop Willow plus 1-drop on 2 so you can turn 3 Big Tramp on your opponent and really get the deck rolling. So I do understand the adding in additional 1-cost characters. So it definitely makes sense. I understand it. Do I necessarily like that lady? Unfortunately I don't. Even in like normal more combo aggro dogs, I don't like that lady that much. I don't know what I would put in her place instead, but I understand the 10 1-drops. It makes sense. And the 2-drop spots, then like I said, you got the utility of the Ursula and the Mowgli Tramp. This is a card that I think is one of the most important cards to play properly with this deck. And whether you're using him, swinging him in, gaining lore, and then using things like your big lady, even a fun play where you swing this into something, hopefully take it out, just get good value, and then you play your big lady and you grab it back, and then you can pay 1 to play it since you have lady on board, boost of another character's strength by a whole bunch, and swing in and get another very favorable trade. So using this Tramp effectively is what separates a lot of dog and circle players, I think. The 2-cost Tramp is just so versatile in what he allows you to be able to do with the deck. I really like seeing the 4-cost Donald in here. If you're not playing the 1-drop lady that's uninkable, another uninkable, because you don't want too many uninkables, another card that I've been testing and really enjoying is the new Chernabog. I think the 5-cost Chernabog from Winterspell in Emerald, where you basically remove a character off the board. If your opponent, you play it usually in a board state that your opponent doesn't have a whole lot going on in their discard, and you just get really strong value out of it. So I do like him a lot. I'm not super big on the 6-cost Tramp, and I don't know about the Clarabelle either. I understand she's usually going to draw you a card, and drawing cards is obviously good. Same with Tramp, drawing you cards. But I guess those would be my critiques on this specific list. Would be the 1-drop lady uninkable, the 3-cost Clarabelle, and the 6-cost Tramp. Those are the 6 cards I'm not sure I really like too much, but I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. Who am I to critique on that? The Malicious, Mean, and Scary, Circle of Life, and Under the Sea being the songs of choice that we're going to see. That's pretty standard. Nothing too crazy out there. Congratulations, though, Brendan, in your top finish at at your case tournament. Bringing us on into the next deck, and it is going to be a Steel Song deck. This was a 77 player event, which means top 8 qualify. This specific list was in the top 8, by the way, so like 5th through 8th in that area. And in our 1 cost spot, we see Ilanwi, and that is it. That's all you need, guys, because if you're going second, you also have 4 Angel, where if you're going second, you can play her, and she's a Singer 3. It's kind of like Cinderella with an extra strength. That's pretty cool. And once again, we're playing Amber, so we see Grandmother Willow in there, wanting to be able to have that aggressive push. So Lilo. Then you have your Mowgli, again, Mowgli for that hand knowledge, Mowgli to rip cards. You got Pete in there also to help slow your opponent's actions and slow their roll that way. Gigi is a very strong card that we've been seeing get played a ton. I like her in Purple Steel a lot more because you can loop with Cheshire Cat and swing in with her and then use Cheshire Cat, move the damage, and once again she gains the 2 extra strength. So I do like her in Purple Steel a lot more. Depending on how many cards, I would have to test this deck out a bunch and see how much cards I end up with in hand a lot. That Lexington maybe would just overall be the better option to play. You got Lilo in there. 4 cost Angel. This card was my pick for one of the best cards in the set, and she's proving to be so. And I've actually pulled a ton of her, so it's actually kind of cool. That never happens for me. 4 cost Ariel, one of your little draw engines in the deck. Obviously, her being boosted. Then when you sing a song, if you have a character under, if there's a card under her, you may draw a card. Pluto for the item removal, and also the challenge lore. Don't sleep on that. The 5 cost Stitch for the recursive draws. Goliath for consistency. Ohana for consistency. The Akud to get to your big characters quicker, especially going second. If you go Angel on 1, sing Akud, that's already 4 cost character on turn 2, such as your Ariel or your other Angel, and can just allow you to get a lot of good value. We got Strength, World's Greatest, and he hurled his Thunderbolt. Obviously, it's a song deck, so that's why we're not seeing like the Horseman Strikes in here. We're seeing the songs instead. Big Ariel being able to also deal extra damage when you're singing your songs. Pay 2, deal 3 is going to be really nice, especially if you have her on board and a couple songs in hand, because it's not once per turn. You can do it with each of them. So overall, how do I feel about the list? Like I said, possibly the Lexington over the GG, just because of, like I said, Purple Steel, I really like GG. In this, I'm not 100% sure on it. Lilo getting the added ability because you got a couple more alien characters in there. So, I mean, she pairs up with your, why can't we even think about it right now? Your angels, oh my goodness. Like staring right at it with your angels for her second effect. For those who are wondering, it is the whenever this character quest chose an oh my god, alien character gains challenger +2. It's like yesterday I was streaming on Whatnot and I could not say the word Gulliver's Travels. I was like tongue tied on it every time I went to say it. Great movie, by the way. But overall, let's see. Obviously, the Ilanwi, the support pairs up with your World's Greatest Criminal Mind. Your Ariel works with all your songs. Ohana is a non-song, but it's a great draw. Makes a lot of sense. Lots of 3, 4, 5 willpower characters or more. I'm not sure how I feel about the Lilo, I guess, entirely. There's not a whole lot of discard outlets, so you're more relying on playing her, and then when she gets challenged over, you just bring her back that way. Grandmother Willow, do I like that in this deck? I kind of do. Getting to your board stabilizers a turn quicker can be really nice. Getting to your big threats a turn quicker also can be really nice. So I do like the Grandmother Willow in there. What would I possibly change? I don't know if the challenger from Lilo is worthy of the spot when you already have your removal in the form of your songs. So Lilo maybe would be a card I would look towards possibly changing out. Like I said, you got Goliath in there, Stitch in there, Ariel in there, Ohana in there. These are all your draw cards. Honestly, maybe even taking Lilo for like 2 Horseman Strikes still, not just for the draw, but purple's a big thing. Obviously, your Thunderbolt's going to take out Dumbos and Genies, but the Horseman Strikes is just such a strong card. So I guess those would be kind of my suggestions for this deck. And the next one's a deck that I'm pretty high on. I think it's going to be a strong tier 2 option, and it was cool to see it top in the opening weekend. And this one is Ken Lithgow's third place finish at a 20-person event, and it is none other than Red Blue. Starting it right off the rip, we got one of the new cards, the Liquidator, which these underdog characters are seeing a lot of play. I think like Liquidator being one of the better ones. Christopher Robin's pretty crazy. Angel is very good. It's just I really like the utility that they bring to the game. First things I look for when deck building or when looking at people's decks, if you couldn't tell already, is consistency cards. And here we got the 4-cost Scrooge, where when he quests, your opponent loses a lore, and if they do, you draw a card for each lore lost this way. Pete, obviously, consistency card also. We got 4 develops, you got 4 visions. Sail can draw you a card. Marching off to battle can draw you a couple. So we definitely have a handful of consistency cards in there. This list, I would definitely play the deck a lot different, I guess, is the easiest way to put it. I would be more focused around Cinderella and using her to ramp filter my hand out and draw cards that way. I do like the Bell a lot, especially if you're getting like Sisu down. This looks like a pretty good like anti-aggro red blue. I don't know how good it would fare into like the other mid and late game decks like Blurple and stuff like that. I'd like to see more top end for those. There is obviously Headless Horseman and the Grab Your Bow for like Genies and Elsas. You got Maui Half Shark to flip the tide in the evasive battle. Your Maleficent's great removal. Your Let It Go is removal. I don't mind not seeing 4 Hades in here, but I would like to see like 2. Between Maleficent, Let It Go, Grab Your Bow, Horseman, I 100% understand not maxing out the Hades, but I would like to see a couple in there. Obviously, this version exactly is pretty hard to do that with your uninkwables because you got Sisu in there, you got Scrooge in there in your early costs, and then obviously your Headless Horseman, your bows. So I'm still testing out my list. I think that there's a list to be had there for red blue. I'm not quite there yet. I don't know if this one's quite there yet, but I'd be interested if Ken by chance sees this and comments how his testing's doing into week 2. But shout outs at doing well at your first event. Like I said, it looks like it would handle the aggressive decks decently. You got some good early tools, the Liquidator and Sisu in those early turns, getting the ramp value off of your Bell. And then things like the late game Maui, Maleficent. Amber decks, though, like yellow, blue, and yellow, purple, aren't going to be too worried about the Maui. I'd question how the deck does consistently into those bigger threat decks, I guess, would be my concern with it. But that leaves us with one more spicy deck, and this one is going to be a top 8 finish from a 42-player event, and it is once again the deck that I started Lorcana with, and that is going to be yellow, purple, hyper, aggro. I love this deck. I actually did a video on a version of this using the Rockstar Lilo and Stitch and Pocahontas as my 3 big characters and closers and aggressive pushes, and then I was playing on Duels.Inc. and I went against the list, and I was watching card for card. I'm like, I think that's card for card my list. I did not see a single card I was not playing, and that was really cool. And I was on Blurple, and I got absolutely blown out because the deck is so fast. Anyway, we have the Aurora in there because guess what? You're playing Tiana on turn 2. Tiana is pretty darn strong in any aggressive deck, especially if you want to get to as much lore as you can before things like Let It Go with Into the Unknown. Some people aren't playing it at 4. I am some people. I don't want to say it's not a 4 because a lot of people are still playing it at 4, but it's seeing play at 3 and 2 is becoming more popular because of things like Let It Go. You have a bunch of other 1-drops in there with your Royal Guard, with your Palace Guard, with your Diablo, with your Daisy. If you're going second, your Christopher Robin. Pocahontas in there is another new card where she quests for 1, guys, but when she quests, you gain lore equal to the lore of another exerted character. So if you have like Christopher Robin or Daisy already exerted, she actually quests for 3 essentially, because she'll quest for 1 and then gain the 2 lore from one of those. So that's going to be really strong as well. Grandmother Willow to be able to go really wide and force your opponents to be in awkward game states and try and answer it. We got Honey Marin and White Rose as instantaneous lore to just get that and get our win. I like to see those. Mowgli in there. The hand knowledge in a deck like this is usually more important. Yes, you want to hit something out of their hand. Hopefully they only have 1 action and their spooky sight's gone. The Raging Storm is gone, but usually that's not going to be an issue too much, except for yellow blue, I guess, which is one of the only decks playing it. So Raging Storm definitely can be an issue, because if you don't win by turn like 5, and then they might just blow you out of the water at that point. The Percy, I believe that's the little dog's name. I'm zoomed out pretty far here. Just seeing the stat line of 4 willpower, 3 quester, I'm like, this card seems so good in like this style deck. I'm not a huge vanilla card player, but I still think the card is a very solid shout. So shout outs playing the 4 copies of it. The Nani to be able to get you to your 2 cost characters. So things with like aggressive decks like this, they usually suffer inconsistency and draw tools. Here we have Diablo in there. You also have the Nani in there, and then the Dolores Madrigal as a bunch of our consistency cards. Another thing you could potentially do would be like an Yzma. You get her down kind of like Dolores, so you don't get the draw immediately, but it forces your opponent to answer. Otherwise, you can dump your hand the following turn, exert her, get 3 more cards. So I do like Yzma in there maybe instead of Dolores. The draw on play is obviously going to be really strong. But if I'm going to go that route too, the Inkable 3/3/2 quester, or would I rather go with like a Genie with the 4 willpower evasive? I mean, Horseman Strikes takes it out, but I think overall, I'd rather go Genie than Dolores. We're at how many uninkables? We got 4, 7, 11. Yeah, you're only at 15 uninkables, and in decks like this, even if I guess we had to try out a couple other adjustments on ratios, I think Genie instead of the Dolores would be perfectly fine. Pocahontas is crazy, guys. Like in this color combination, because you got the good 2-cost Pocahontas. If you didn't challenge it all this turn, no one can challenge till your next turn. Means your opponent better have some crazy action removal, because if they don't, you're probably just gonna walk away with the win there. Also, the 3-cost Pocahontas, it's just another shift line, but giving a character lore. Sometimes, how many times in these quicker decks do you get to like 18, 19 and stall out, or those control decks just take over at that point? You can't get that last lore. This is a card that handles that, because it's like, hey, he's going to quest to this, but then I can stop him, and then I got Hades, let it go. I can just answer card for card, and he's top decking, and I win in 4 turns. And then they drop a Pocahontas, and all of a sudden they're 1 questing Diablo, quest for 2 when they're at 18, and that's the game. Or they, like I said, pull the Honey Marin or the White Rose off the rip and gain lore like that. We got the Chief in there, the 5/5. He can't challenge, but he's a bodyguard. And did I say 5/5? Overall, I'd like to see more card draw is really the only critique I would have here. What are some things that are a little less impactful? I get the 4 willpower 1 quester like in a Palace guard, but I've never been a fan of the card, even in quicker decks. The Percy might have to come out just to try to fit more consistency in. Outside of that, other than that, I think it's pretty good. You got the whole game plan down. You got some of your countermeasures like the Chief, the Mowgli. You got the utility in there with Honey Marin and White Rose. We got the Pocahontas packages, obviously. What else would like I said, I think Palace Guard, Percy, switching Dolores for Genie, or just adding Genie. Otherwise, like I said, Yzma being a strong shout too if you want to go non-evasive. Again, doesn't draw on play, but potential to draw a bunch more. So I think that's what I would go is I personally would want more consistency out of my deck. But outside of that, it actually looks pretty solid. And again, it was I believe it said 6th place, so I know it was a top 8 finish and 42 players. So it just kind of goes to show that in the right environment, these off the beaten path, more aggressive decks can see a lot of success right now. So I'm excited to see what comes out this weekend. What do you guys think? And have you enjoyed the format so far? But as always, guys, like, share, subscribe, comment down below, and take care, guys.